It's okay. One waves like light with Phee, where advice flows like the sea. Catch the rhythm, catch the glow. Let the big band steal the show. Night, night with Phee. It's where you're meant to be.
Welcome to another episode of Sportsball with Sir Isaac the Guru. It's a special as we recap the football season and get into March Madness right here. How you doing, Sir Isaac?
Doing good. Excited for my favorite holiday of the year.
Favorite holiday of the year, huh?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, we've got Mr. President all the way from the Northeast. How are you doing, Mr. President?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on again. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I certainly appreciate you tuning in and showing up for us. We have Sir Phee Smee, the one and only, will be joining us in about 15 minutes. He is now playing pickleball, so you can see where his priorities lie. Sir Isaac the Guru and Mr. President are both very good in pickleball. I can just tell you, I've been beat by both of them. So they know how to put an old man in his place. Well, Sir Isaac, can you tell me a little bit about your Super Bowl thoughts? I know you didn't like that first commercial from State Farm.
No. This is probably going to ruin any, of our really high chance of getting State Farm as a sponsor for this podcast. But State Farm is the worst insurance company.
Wow.
Mr. President is in no way attached to that opinion. He is not involved. That's Isaac's opinion. But anyways, we had a fun game where we had to guess the first commercial, and me and I think Jordan got it right because we guessed State Farm.
You guessed State Farm.
But no, not a State Farm fan. But also glad that we can be the first show to discuss the fact that the Seahawks won the Super Bowl. Because in case anyone didn't know that did happen. And we were just really slow getting to it. But it wasn't a very good game, was it?
For three quarters, it looked like I was going to go to sleep.
Yeah, it was rough. I think old Drake May needs a few more years, and they were not ready for that defense. But it was fun. Got to hang out with you guys, which was a good time, and the Super Bowl is always fun. So,
well, I can tell you, Sir Isaac the Guru doesn't need to go to Philadelphia to make any Philly cheese sliders because his was fantastic, as good as I've ever had them, and I've had them all over the country, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. President, I know you had a Super Bowl party. How was that, and how was your food with the Hawaiian rolls?
Oh, we had a great Super Bowl party. Thanks for asking. Yeah, my wife did a fantastic job cooking and helping decorate and hosting everything. Yeah, she made buffalo chicken sliders with Hawaiian rolls, and they were a hit amongst the adults and amongst the 20 kids we had running around.
20 kids.
We had a great party.
That's fantastic. Well, can you tell me what you thought of Kenny Walker III winning the MVP, Mr. President?
Very happy for Kenny Walker III. I think that was a good choice for MVP. Otherwise, I think you should have picked someone on the defense. But sometimes the defense is so good overall, it's hard to pick one standout player.
Yeah.
And I think that Kenny's performance was deserving of an MVP. And I'm not trying to say anything bad about Sam Darnold because he won and he's a champion. I'm happy for him, but he also didn't deserve to win over Kenny, in my opinion.
No, I think the second best option was probably the kicker, is what most people said. It was like Kenneth Walker or the kicker. Also, I got to say, I know that they do the whole deal with Disney, and that's like just, part of the whole winning the Super Bowl thing. But the video I saw of Kenneth Walker and Sam Darnold in the teacups was one of the most awkward and uncomfortable videos I've ever seen. They did not look like they were thrilled to be there, and I'm sure as soon as the camera clicked off, both of them boys sprinted to the exit and ran to wherever their vacation spot was.
Well, it could have been that or Dumbo.
It was rough.
Have you ever ridden the teacups at Disney World?
No, because I can do the craziest rides on the plane. I can do upside down, fast, backwards, loops. But you put me on something that spins, and I'm done for. So
you're not a spinner.
I can do the craziest roller coaster that there is, but you put me on those teacups, and I'm out. That's where I draw the line. I can't. I get nauseous, and I can't handle it.
Well, Mr. President, you've been on those teacups at Disney World, hadn't you?
Yes, sir, I have. And I agree with Isaac. I think in my old age, the spinning has gotten me more nauseous than I was used to growing up. My only good experience on the teacups was with you, Daddy. Since then, I've avoided the spinning rides.
Yes, those spinning rides will wake you up and make you smell the coffee if you're not throwing up in the parking lots. But I enjoyed the spinning rides when I was a kid. I did every ride there was. I was a thrill seeker. Now I find myself very leery of heights, and so I can see myself getting old, as I'm twice the age of these young bucks that keep talking about how old they're getting. As Sir Isaac the Guru just turned the big 3-0. Happy birthday, Sir Isaac.
29.
Oh,
Actually,
29.
So I still got a whole nother year.
Well,
before
then
I
that doesn't matter. Mr. President's 29. I thought you had a,
No, he's so much older than me. It's crazy. He's way closer to 30 than I am.
well, he's got a while to go before he gets to 30. I can assure you that. Mr. President.
I'm just happy to make it to the halfway mark, guys.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm thankful to be right here with you guys tonight. Can you tell me a little bit about what you thought of the first half of that Super Bowl? Did it put you to sleep, son, or were you too busy partying with your 20 youths from your church?
I was busy partying, trying to prepare the halftime game, but I did watch closely. Briefly, I wanted to say that my favorite Super Bowl commercial was the polar bear choosing the Pepsi over Coke. I thought that was hilarious.
I missed that.
I missed that too, son. I missed that.
You'll have to look it up. The polar bear in a blind taste test chooses Pepsi over Coca-Cola and ends up going to therapy and having a midlife crisis. So it's very fun.
That is great. I mean, that would have been my favorite too. I missed it. I guess I was asleep. Must have been in the first half.
That is great. I'm mad I missed it.
That fourth quarter.
As far as the game goes, I was hoping that my predictions would be right and we would see a couple of sloppy turnovers to keep the Patriots in it. It unfortunately wasn't as exciting as I was hoping. That the fourth quarter, there ended up being a couple of scores and some interesting things happening, but the first half was a slog.
Yes, I totally agree with you, and I think I'm the only one on the panel that had Seattle minus the 4.5, or maybe Sir William Smee, the one and only, had Seattle minus the 4.5 also. I know that, Drew, you thought that New England would cover, but Seattle would win, and I think Sir Isaac the Guru just kind of went crazy on us for a while. I talked to him when I was eating his Philly steak sliders, and he told me he changed at the very end.
Yeah, I ended up, but it was strictly for the value of the Patriots, not because if you hooked me up to a lie detector, I think I would have picked the Patriots to cover, but Seattle to win. But I think I ended up betting on like the Patriots money line just because I'm a sucker for the underdog and I got roped into it. But no, I think I would have been wrong on the spread, but definitely it was not even close. The late touchdown, the worst part was I did some of the fun like props, just throwing them out there. The Super Bowl is the one event that I would rather play the goofy little props than anything else. And one of them, I had the Patriots to complete a 2-point conversion, and it was like plus 400. And that last touchdown drive, they went for 2, and it was like a very blatant pass interference on Hunter Henry, and they didn't call it. And I was the only person watching the game that cared about the everyone else was like, oh, dang. And I'm sitting back here going, what the heck?
You don't know how many times in my life, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that I've been sitting watching a 38-17 game left with 58 seconds left, and everybody else is already looking for the next game or getting something to eat, and I'm sitting there on pins and needles because that know-nothing touchdown beats me by half a point.
Yeah.
So, well, we're going to move past the professional football season recap and get into the combines this year, as Sir Isaac the Guru has a love-hate relationship with his Razorbacks, but he did think that Taylor Green ran a strong 40.
We had two players that put up like up there with like all time. Well, Taylor Green's was an all-time performance in like every single measurable category, and then also Mike Washington had a crazy.
What, 4.33?
Yeah, he ran. He was the fastest running back, and then that's up there with the best ever at running back. So,
Yeah.
but Talon broke. I think it was like 4 quarterback records. I think vertical, 43.5-inch vertical, 4.3 640. I think the 11.2 broad jump was a record too. So it was kind of just cool. Also, it makes our defense look even worse than we already looked through the whole year, which is hard to do. But the fact that we had our 2 feature offensive players be like 2 of the best looking physically, players at the combine. But they scored a bunch of points. We just lost games because we couldn't stop anyone. But no, they did great. Also, I have to go on a quick tangent. I threw this in my notes because it was just something part of the fact that Arkansas never gets, the same attention as other programs and stuff. I went back and compared Talon's combine measurements and his stats to Anthony Richardson when he came out of Florida.
Mhm.
Because I remember when Anthony Richardson came out, everyone just could not stop talking about he's a freak athlete. Oh my gosh, he's a project. And I don't remember when he got drafted, but it was early.
Top 10.
Yeah. And first of all, if you stood Talon right next to Anthony Richardson, I would tell you that I thought Anthony Richardson looked like a more I don't know what you like more well built athlete. But in every single combine measurement, Talon was better than him. And then he played way more football than like twice as much football as him in college. And in his senior year, I have it on here, but Talon averaged 60.7% completion percentage, 2,700 pass yards, 19 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, with an average of a 143.2 pass rating, and then 777 rush yards, 8 touchdowns. Anthony Richardson, 53 completion percentage, 2,500 pass yards, 17 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions, 131 passer rating, 654 rushing yards, and 9 touchdowns. So literally every single area of being a quarterback, other than one rushing touchdown, Taylon Green was better than Anthony Richardson, and it just bugged me slightly because I'm not arguing for Taylon Green to go first round. That's not what I'm getting at, but it just like he had his moment where it was like, oh, Taylon Green had a great combine, and then I feel like now we're past it, and Anthony Richardson was just the talk of the draft for weeks, and one of those things that just bugs me because if he was wearing a different jersey, if he was wearing an Alabama jersey, if he was wearing a Tennessee jersey, he'd be getting talked about more. But it just is what it is. Part of being an Arkansas fan.
Well, he will humble me tremendously. I'm 5'8". He's 6'6". He ran a 4.36. I ran a 4.38. He had a 11.5 vertical leap. A 42.5. I had a 40. I mean, the boy's 10 inches taller than me and faster and can jump higher.
It's crazy.
So that tells you right there, on my best day, I wouldn't be able to compete in any way, shape, fashion, or form with that boy. Mr. President, how do you think Taylon Green will do as a pro?
I think he'll do a good job. I don't think that he's going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, at least in the first couple of years. Maybe if he gets a chance, he can show something and make a career of it. I think that he'd be a great choice for a team that already has a good dual threat quarterback to draft him as a cheap backup and develop him. And on the off chance, somebody like a Jalen Hurts, a Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson go down with injury, he'd be, in my mind, an ideal person to come in as a backup. And hopefully at that point, he could prove himself enough to make him a desirable trade target for a quarterback needy team.
Who do you compare him with in the NFL now? I don't know anybody else. I don't know anybody else that's 6'6" that runs a 4.36.
What's that kid from UCLA like 2 years ago that went to the Browns?
I remember him.
Dorian Thompson Robinson, I think is his
That's
name.
his name. Yep. I wouldn't have been able to come up with it. Very good, Guru.
I mean, that's that in my when I just think about them, that's like he's a backup, dual threat guy, questionable arm sometimes. That like I think Taylor Green's faster and more electric of an athlete, but I think they're kind of similar in their role. Shoot, they'll probably try to turn him into a wide receiver with those numbers.
Well, they did Matt Jones.
But yeah, I agree with Drew. I don't think he's again, when I'm complaining about him and Anthony Richardson, I'm not sitting here saying, "Oh, Taylor Green should be drafted." I think Taylor Green. I
Third or
watched
fourth
him
round?
all probably, and I watched him all season. I've watched him for 2 years. I don't think he's not a guy that I've watched and been like, "Man, I really think he's going to be good in the NFL." But he'll be on a roster. You unless you get hurt or something. I mean, that level of athlete is going to find his way to be on a roster in some capacity, and it'd be fun for him to be a backup. It'd be fun for a team that's tanking to watch a couple of Taylor Green games at the end of the year to a team who's competing for the worst team in the league. Will's calling me.
All right, get him on the line.
How's it going, Will?
Going well. How's it going with y'all?
We're living the dream, talking about Taylor Green. That was a great rhyme I just did.
Nickel and Diamond two-line rhyming right here at Phee Sportsball with Sir Isaac the Guru, as Sir Phee Smee, the one and only, has entered the building along with Mr. President from the Northeast. Glad to have you guest panelist here today. As Phee Smee, the one and only, we have just got through telling you that me and you were the only ones that picked Seattle minus the 4 in the Super Bowl.
Well, it's just embarrassing, Dad. I don't know why they don't listen to us more.
I agree. Totally agree. We're going to move on now since Will is on the phone with our sleepers for the NFL draft. As Sir Isaac the Guru says that Chris Brazil from the wide receiver is going to be a strong sleeper. What do you think about him, Mr. President?
I defer to the guru's vast superior knowledge over me to know if he'll be a sleeper or not. I'm not sure where he's projected right now and how to classify him as a sleeper or just a good overall pick.
I think when I kind of cheat with sleepers because for the sake of my time to research, I count anyone who's like not talked about in like the first round. I'm talking about like really good guys that should probably be like first round talents is kind of what my definition is, which I recognize that is not the traditional definition of sleeper.
No, that would not be a traditional.
But for the sake of this show, I'm not about to be diving into 6-rounders.
No.
But he's like, I think he's listed as like the 7th or 8th receiver projected to go off the board. He kind of did a DK Metcalf type thing at the combine where he's just really big, had some really good numbers. He also, I saw, had like 2 drops on the year. I'm pretty sure, which is obviously great hands being that big and that fast. You know, hard to go away from someone like that. But yeah, to clarify on the sleepers, that's what.
But if that's our definition of sleeper, then my sleeper is going to be Sam Rush. He's a tight end from Stanford. And at least by athletic testing, he tested at the 3rd most athletic tight end in the history of the combine at 6'6". He ran under a 4.7 in the 40-yard dash, and had extremely explosive broad jumps and vertical jumps. I will give him the sleeper category because I didn't know who he was, but now if you project it as a 3rd-round pick, you can find great value in the 3rd round, and this is a deep tight end class. Just for him to be that much of an athletic freak, is worthy of a sleeper pick.
I agree with that. I was looking a lot at the tight ends because that's like one of my favorite positions. I like nerd out over trying to find a tight end that I get excited about, and I saw his name on there a lot. And he kind of he's the first tight end of the tight ends that's like really big. The other 2 guys that had the crazy combines are both like 6'4", 220, 230 guys, like almost like large wide receivers. And yeah, he's kind of the highest ranked guy that's like a big built and athletic tight end. Which honestly, if I was a team, that's the type of guy I'd go for anyway, other than the smaller, crazy athletic guys, unless you have some specific role for them. But I'd rather have a guy on the field that can block.
And I think you need a variety of tight ends
Yeah.
In the league nowadays. So I think that's a great point. I mean, we saw so many great teams with great head coaching or offensive coordinating minds running 3 tight end sets this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think of how many times the Rams did that, the Seahawks did that late in the season. It's kind of unexpected to think of the 3 tight ends, but if you have 1 or 2 who can basically be slim enough and quick enough to run receiver routes, you still need 1 on the line who's big enough and block and who can sneak out into coverage, for some really clever play design. So I think that teams will be moving to not only having, 1 tight end that can be a receiver, 1 that can block, but they have multiple in the future. So I would load up on tight ends if I was a GM and I was looking at this heavily talented class.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like the Steelers got Darnell Washington, who's basically just a ginormous offensive tackle at tight end, who can also catch the ball.
Well, I can tell you,
That's so true.
Jason Peters was a tight end at the University of Arkansas and ended up being one of the best offensive tackles in the history of the NFL.
Mhm.
Played about 18 seasons, so that works also. Will, what do you think about Kenny Walker, the Super Bowl MVP, going to the Chiefs?
Well, I was certainly surprised to hear that news. I kind of had the Chiefs pegged to draft Jeremiah Love. I thought that would have been a really cool fit. And I'm a little bummed that we're probably not going to get to see that now. But I will say the Chiefs did shore up a position that they really have been lacking at in recent seasons with Kenneth Walker. So I think it was a good move. I wouldn't classify it as great. I think, it's a position that you got to be careful when you're spending money on it, a running back. And it would be ideal to have a low price running back that's high performing, but better to have a high performing and high price running back than a bad one altogether. So that's my thoughts on Kenneth Walker. I wanted to share just my one sleeper that came to mind. I like the Jacob Rodriguez guy out of Texas Tech, the linebacker. I thought that he had a Heisman-worthy season, and he tested pretty well at the combine as well. I think he ran a 4.57 in the 40, and he's the kind of player that just makes winning plays, and you kind of assume maybe he's just a winning college player, but then he ended up testing pretty well in the combine. You're like, wait, maybe this could translate into the NFL. So I'm sure some GMs are thinking that right now, after they saw his numbers, because I think he kind of had that reputation of like a great college player, but probably not going to translate. And now I think that thought may start to shift after seeing his combine numbers.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good one, and I hadn't really paid much attention to him, but I do remember watching him. Also, again, with the kind of off the common sleeper thing, there was a couple corners that somehow, well, one of them I really don't know how he's not a first round corner. I think it's just because he's a little short. But D'Angelo Pons at Indiana is really, really, really good.
Good hands.
Like really good, and he's 5'10". But I watched them play. Obviously, the whole nation got to watch Indiana play, and that man is super talented. Tackles well for being small. I don't. When I read the other people being picked above him at corner, I'm not so sure that he wouldn't be my first pick at corner. But he's supposed to go like early second round. And there's a guy at Georgia named Dalen Everett that he didn't test great at corner, but when I watched Georgia play, it seems like every single time it came down to like a important moment of the game, he was like always the guy either getting an interception or a big time deflection, or like he's one of those dudes that just found his way to make a big play, which you can't really like measure that other than just seeing him. But I think he's supposed to be a second rounder too. But those are two guys that to me looked really good. Also, the fact that last thing on the guys that I love, and this one's definitely not a sleeper, but Caleb Downs, the last mock draft I saw had him potentially going to he was available when the Chiefs picked. I think I'm trying to remember who they had taken him after the Chiefs, but it was like they had him going like 10, 11, or 12. I don't. He had like this weird little injury controversy in the last couple weeks where someone claimed he had like a knee thing, but then he was like passed off as healthy for the combine and stuff. I don't know how much these people have been watching college football, but I'm not so sure that there's not a defender or that there's a defender in the draft that's like more effective than he was in his college career. And it's crazy to me that he's not being mentioned in like the top five picks. But I almost hope the Chiefs get someone like that, or they're talking about getting that Sonny Styles linebacker. But um, if he slips down to the teens, it's funny to me because literally he's been considered maybe the best player in college football for the last 2 years for sure. Um, but I think it's just because he's a safety and people are scared to draft safeties that high. But
Well, if you ever find a great safety, ladies and gentlemen, you need to keep him because some of the best athletes in the world are safeties. If they can run and they love to hit, they can make a wide receiver a nightmare. I can assure you of that. I know, Will, that you're needing to get off here soon, so let's move on to basketball since you've actually talked with general managers before drafts on evaluating some talent. So I know you've got some insight on this basketball season, and then we'll get back to football after you get off here. How about that?
That sounds good to me. What do you want to know?
Well, we're going to start talking about in the NCAA right now. We have conference tournaments, and then we'll be going through your Cinderellas and bracket busters for next week. Do you think Florida or Arkansas will win the SEC? You think Duke will win the ACC? Just give me what your rundown on your major conferences, what you think will happen in the conference championships.
Yeah, that's a great question. My heart really says Arkansas, but my brain says Florida. So I do think if Arkansas and Florida match up again in the SEC tournament, it'll be a very competitive game. And I think Arkansas can beat Florida. But I would pick Florida to win if you were just asking me who do I think is going to win the SEC tournament. So I would go Florida. Man, it's hard to bet against Duke, especially with North Carolina's best player being out as well, Caleb Wilson. So I know Duke is in a little bit of a dogfight with Florida State right now. I had just got an update that game was pretty close. But it's hard for me to bet against Duke in that conference. I think Virginia is one of the top, maybe 2 or 3 seeds in that one as well. But I watched them play today and didn't really feel like they're on the same level as Duke. So I would say Duke and Florida. I know I'm going a little chalky. And then the Big 12, that's an interesting one. That's a really good conference. You know, Houston's always a team you got to watch out for this time of year. BYU's got one of the best players in the country in A.J. DeBansa. Who else are we talking? Kansas, they've got Darren Peterson, otherwise known as Do Not Play. Because that man will sit out any game if possible.
Iowa State is another good one.
Iowa State, yes, that's a good one. And they put it on Texas Tech today, and I also think that Christian Anderson, I heard that he got hurt in that game because they're playing on a glass court and he slipped. So not a popular thing for the Big 12 to be doing right now. If I had to pick after watching Iowa State play today, I think it probably would come down between them and Houston. I'm just going to go Houston because I trust them a little bit more. But those would be 3 picks. Any other conferences you're thinking of?
I'm thinking about the Pac-12 with Arizona.
Oh yeah, I'll take Arizona. Well, actually, I'll take that back. Is Michigan in the Pac-12? Y'all know this is confusing.
That's
these
Big
days.
Ten. Big Ten.
Yeah, Big Ten.
Okay.
There is no Pac-12. See how old I am, folks, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. You know, sometimes they even say I have dementia.
Do they?
Yes, well, Arizona or Michigan is going to win the Big Ten then, right? Which is really the Big 16?
Arizona's not in the Big Ten, are they?
I didn't think so, but you had me worried.
No. I think Arizona.
Arizona's in the Big 12 and
Pac-12.
no.
Okay, they got me so confused here. This is a sports ball show, and I don't know what conference Arizona's in, and they're one of the top 5 programs in college basketball. So,
In basketball, at least they're in the Big 12.
Arizona is in the Big 12, yes.
well, then Arizona, Iowa State, Houston, and Kansas, those are 4 quality basketball programs that the Big 12 is going to put out on the court in that NCAA March Madness here next week.
Yes, that's true. That I think the Big 12 probably got the reputation of the best conference in basketball this year, just with how quality the talent at the top of the league is. I forgot to mention Arizona when talking about the Big 12. I still do think that Houston can win that conference championship, but either one of those teams or Iowa State would be a good pick. And then I've got Michigan in whatever conference they're in.
Yeah, well, who else is there? I guess you would go with Iowa in the Big 12.
State.
Michigan State would probably be a 2 seed. Illinois is a great shooting team. Mr. President, what do you think about your college basketball conference championship this weekend?
I think that if the seeding works out right, that Arkansas will be playing against Florida for the SEC championship, that Florida will win. I'll take Michigan. I'll take Iowa State. And I'll take. I'm going to take Duke, but I do worry that their injuries are going to catch up to them. But I'm going to take them.
Sir Isaac the Guru, what are your picks?
I think I've got Duke. I've got probably Florida. I'm going to go Houston in the Big 12, and then I'll also take Michigan. Also want to throw out there, which we'll talk about it a little more later, but with Will on the phone. Will, of the 4 like pretty locked up 1 seeds, who do you think? Give me your one that you think has the most likely chance to actually make it all the way, and the one that you think has a risk of going out early.
Right now, the season it's crazy because it goes through so many ebbs and flows, but at the end of the year, it's kind of who's healthy and who's playing the best at that time, who's peaking at the right time. And poor Duke, they have just had a little bit of an injury bug hit them as of late. And if I had to pick any of the 1 seeds that I thought could get picked off early, I would have to go with them just because it's kind of hard to relearn how to play together as a team with new players and new rotations at the end of the year. And I think they've got the best college basketball player in the country on their team, but I don't think that Cam Boozer can carry them to a Final Four or a national championship if they're down so many players, which they're definitely. I think at least their point guard is out for the season or out indefinitely, and their big man is questionable as far as I understand. So if he plays, it doesn't sound like he'll be playing at 100%. That would be my pick to get taken out early by an upset. So I hope the Hogs end up in the same bracket as them. If I had to pick a team I feel confident is going to make a Final Four or a national championship out of the 1 seeds, I would pick Michigan. I feel like they, at times this year, have been a buzzsaw. They have beat great teams by 30 at different points in the year. And they've gone on multiple runs where they've won 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games in a row. So I have no doubt in my mind that they can beat good team after good team multiple games in a row. And that would be my pick of the team I'm most confident in right now. It's really hard to repeat. I know that UConn just did it recently, but it's not an easy thing to do. So I don't expect Florida to win another championship this year. And Arizona, I just don't buy it, them being a national championship team. So Michigan would be my favorite as of right now.
How about you, Mr. President?
Well, all of my intelligent basketball takes come from Sir William, so I'm just going to say ditto to what he said. If I had to give a team who I think who is highly ranked who will get upset early, I'm going to say Michigan State.
Yeah,
I know they're not going to be a 1 seed, but I think Michigan State is bound to be upset.
I believe I saw that they're scheduled to be a number 2 seed, so that would be a big upset if they went out early. They had Arkansas as a 5 seed playing a 12 seed, which is always dangerous. But if they get by that team, it's a pretty easy bracket to get to the Sweet 16.
if they put us, if I was gonna go on a rant, I had some notes in here about us as a 5 seed, or yeah, 5 seed. The two teams, or there's two teams they have above us in some of the mocks as a 4, and there's a couple that I genuinely do not understand how that's the case. One of them's Texas Tech, which we have a 1 game better conference record than Texas Tech. We have them in a head to head, and we have, I think, 2 spots above them in strength of schedule. Um, and the other one is one of them I saw had Vandy as a potential. That one was the craziest one of them all to me. They had Vandy as a potential 4 seed. Same story with Vandy, better conference record. We have a better strength of schedule, and we beat them in head to head. And then the other one was Kansas, which I know they're a blue blood, whatever, but they're the exact same as Texas Tech, other than the fact we didn't play them head to head. They have 1 game worse conference record. Strength of schedule is not as high as Arkansas's, and we have um, like all the records we're at least 1 game better. So those 3 teams, I was sitting there, almost all of them had us as a 5, and at least Texas Tech and Kansas as a 4. And I was just trying to figure out why. Like that was, I don't really understand. Maybe I don't know if Will has heard something or a specific reason, but
Yeah, from my understanding, I think that you make really good points, Isaac. One thing that the committee doesn't consider at all is conference record. They don't look at it all. They don't talk about it at all. They don't consider it at all. Even though I don't agree with that, that's just how they are. So that's part of why when you look at a team like Vandy, who we have a much better conference record, and we have a better conference record, and we beat them head to head. It's like, well, there really should be no excuse. One thing that I think that the committee looks at more than the common fan, not us necessarily, but the common fan, is those predictive metrics, which are like the Ken Palm and Torvik and these different basically formulas and predictive metrics that give teams a ranking, an offensive ranking, a defensive ranking, those, and an overall ranking. Um, and Vanderbilt and Texas Tech are 2 of the predictive metric darlings that, for whatever reason, what they do on the court, these formulas love, and they're both ahead of us in the metrics, even though we outperform both of them, have a better record than both of them, have better wins than Vanderbilt, for example. It's just one of those things where they seem to put more weight into these formulas than we do. But I will say, if Tennessee beats Vanderbilt and we beat whoever we play, or maybe even beat Alabama or whoever we play in the second round or the semifinal of the SEC tournament, I would not be surprised if we jump Vandy. And I think Texas Tech may get faded, especially if Christian Anderson is hurt. They took a 20-something point loss today to Iowa State, and that's going to drop them a little bit in the metrics. And if their best player that's left standing is hurt, it wouldn't surprise me if the committee fades them a little bit, just based off the knowledge of knowing their best 2 players are out. So those are 2 teams I would watch for. I do think there is a path for Arkansas to still make a 4 seed, but it's not. It's going to probably need us to win 2 games in the SEC tournament. That would be my somewhat expert opinion.
That makes me even more curious of the other metrics other than Ken Palm, because I've been a Ken Palm nerd like all season this season and paid for the subscription and everything like that. And that on Ken Palm, that's the one that they have Arkansas basically just as high as Texas Tech, and then I think higher than Vandy. I want to say, unless I'm forgetting. I was looking at it today, and that's the one I was basing a lot of that off of. But that makes me even more curious of those other metrics, because there's either 1 or 2 of those other ones that it's got to be like heavily against us.
I don't have the paid version of Ken Palm. I just look at the updated rankings, the free version. So all I can see is like their net ranking and the offensive defensive ranking, and they have Vanderbilt at 13, Arkansas at 16, on this one. Now, Texas Tech is below us. That's what I'm just looking at, but I could be wrong. You may be seeing something much more complex than what I'm able to see.
Well, there's too many numbers on what I look at, so there's also a decent chance that I'm misinterpreting all of them because it's like a spreadsheet full of decimal points and numbers and whatever. But I will say, I mean, Vandy, I'm a little more biased on because I've watched them play more. Texas Tech, with the injury and everything, and getting hammered in the conference tournament, I'm hoping that dings them, like you said. And then Vandy, I don't watch Vandy and see a team that I can imagine making a March run. Like I really don't, and that's not me being biased. I just don't like watch them and say, "Wow." I know they're not bad, but I don't really get it.
Well, saying Vanderbilt's going to make a run in the NCAA tournament's kind of like saying Gonzaga can't hit a three, and they can't shoot threes this year. So, you know, when they actually had Vanderbilt in football favored over LSU this year.
Yeah.
And if you want to talk about a 27-point loss in a conference tournament and your star player getting hurt, you can go back to the Florida State 11-0 football season when their quarterback got hurt and they left them out of the college football playoffs.
Yeah.
So I think you're onto something, Sir William.
Thank you. Gentlemen, I had a great time. It's always a pleasure. I got to jump off.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
All right, see y'all.
See you, Sir William. I wanted to say, since we were talking about stats, that this week I saw a data scientist who I used to follow on lots of social media sites that I'm not on anymore, came up with his own basketball rating system, and he posted his top 15 teams, and I immediately screenshotted it and sent it to Will because it has Arkansas ranked as the 15th best team with the second best offense and the 138th best defense.
Yeah.
Which was shocking to me. And I sent that to Will. Will immediately sent me stats back from Ken Palm and other reasons why our defense is not really that bad, but at least by some statistical metrics that nerds use that the casual fans like us don't, just using our eyes and the eye test, I guess there's some reason on defense that we can be dragged down even when we have better records and conference records and head-to-head matchups, like you said, Isaac.
I think that what kills us on the defensive ratings is we started the season so bad. Not even bad, but like as far as the measurable things go, at the beginning of the year when we were playing the not as good teams, we were letting them score a lot of points. Because I remember it was probably through the first like 12 games, it was even more lopsided than that as far as comparing our offense and defense. Like our defense was really bad. And then when we started getting into big games, we would like ratchet it up. And so when we started playing bigger games and then got into conference, it's slowly been climbing back. But it's almost like we started at such a big like low point that it's still hurting us now. And also I will say we don't have the same defense as some of these other great teams. I don't think that that's like our strong suit, but it's way better than the metrics say it is. We also play like a super fast pace, deflecting passes, tipping passes, and in the half court, I don't think we have as good like rated defense, but I know like our turnover rate and stuff I think is pretty high. But
Well, Arkansas has quick athletic guards, and if they bring high energy in that tournament, they can play defense.
100%.
I watched the Alabama-Arkansas game. It was a 117-115 loss for Arkansas. I thought it was the best college basketball game of the year.
Great game.
And now Sir William tells me that neither team plays defense, so that's why it was 117-115. But I thought, I was sitting there, and I texted him and said, he was on his way to Nebraska, and I texted him and said, Acuffs was in a walking boot for 3 days, and he's got 42. So I hated for him to lose that game. Somebody's got to lose that game. It was at Alabama, but what a great performance he put on that night.
You bringing up that, the last thing I'll say about Arkansas, despite what all the metrics say and all that, if our biggest downside is if guys have dominant big men, we're not terrible at defending big men, but we don't have the strength inside to keep up with that. But I will say we have the most dynamic guards in the tournament as far as overall. Um, and I think that if you've got that many electric guards, you've got a chance to beat anybody. I don't believe we can win a national championship this year, but if I'm any single team in that entire tournament, I know it's a cliche thing to say, but I'm so serious. Any team in that tournament, I do not want to play us because we have the best point guard in the country. We have a guy who has kind of taken a back seat, a freshman in Malik Thomas, to Darius Acuff this year. But last game with Darius Acuff out, he had 28 and was like
Went off,
5 of
didn't he?
6 from three.
Yeah.
He is not, and neither one of them. The other big thing about both of them is they are very special in the fact that neither one of them has been scared of any moment at all. They both, in the biggest games, have performed and wanted to play and played hard and not looked scared. And in the tournament, you've got to have that trait or else you're going to get thumped. You're going to get a Cinderella that comes in, hits a bunch of threes, you're going to get scared, and that's how you lose those games is you panic. And not for a single second all year have I seen either one of those dudes panic in a game. And I think we've got a chance to make a good run. Again, I don't think we've got the big men unless we get lucky and we happen to get a path where a Michigan or a Duke, who their strength is their big men, if we get a path where one of them gets knocked off, and it just works out in our favor, maybe you get there. But I do think one of those teams is going to be our downfall at some point. But it'll be fun to watch, and I'm going to cry myself to sleep if we lose early. And
We won't lose early. Good guard play during that tournament is the key to a big run. Mr. President, I saw today that Arkansas is a 5 seed, will play a 12 seed in Philadelphia. I bet you'll be there if that's the case.
If Arkansas is playing in Philadelphia, I am definitely planning to be here.
that would be
I
great.
hope that they're a 4 and that they're playing somewhere else, but if they're a 5, I'll be there when they're playing hopefully 2 games.
Absolutely, they'll play 2 games in Philadelphia if they're there. Another region in that is St. Louis. So I thought if they get into St. Louis, that's close enough for us to go. If they're in Philadelphia, I know you're going to be there.
I'll definitely be there. And just to Isaac's point, I think that it's very unlikely that the Hogs win the national championship this year. But I don't think it's impossible. I think that they have a shot. They have a team that's good enough to do it. Just like with any championship team, you just need to have some lucky breaks and some good health. And so if we get, put as a 5 seed in the bracket where we would have to play Michigan in the Sweet 16, I'm not too excited about that. But if we ended up in a bracket where, we, for whatever reason, were a 4 or we were a 5 on a side with the Duke who's still battling injury, and then we win a game there. Maybe another team who is favored to match up really poorly against us will lose unexpectedly to a Cinderella team, and then you never know what can happen. You just have to take advantage of the opportunities when they're in front of you. And if they come this year, then I expect this Arkansas team to take them. If they don't, with a coach like we have and with a recruiting base like it looks like we're going to continue to have, we just have to keep playing the numbers game, keep being in this position year over year, and hope that eventually we get those lucky breaks.
Absolutely. I think that after watching that Alabama-Arkansas game, I saw Will the next day and said, I believe we're a 4 seed, and he at that time said, well, they've got us listed as a 6 seed. Now it's a 5 seed. I believe if we go deep in that SEC with that Texas Tech and Vanderbilt getting beat by Tennessee, if that's the case, then we can definitely be a 4 seed. But it would really make me happy if they were a 5 seed and then playing in Philadelphia for you, Mr. President.
That'd be great.
That would make me happy too, and I'd love to be there. I just know statistically that 5 seeds do not do well in the tournament. They actually do worse than 6 seeds, which is shocking.
That's correct.
Seeds 1 through 4, they win. I mean, when UConn won their first championship, on their back-to-back a couple years ago, they were a 4 seed. I mean, 4 seeds can win the whole tournament. So I would rather be that. But if they're a 5, what a great consolation prize for me.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. Many years I've watched that tournament. You'll see a lot of years, you'll see 3 2s and a 1. You'll see 2 2s, a 3, and a 4. But very seldom will you get one of those Final Fours with a 9 or an 8 or a 5. It happens every once in a while, but not very often in the history of the NCAA basketball tournament.
I hope they let the tough schedule we played in our non-conference and everything pay off, and I just hope they give us a 4. If there was one team above us that I, disagreed with, that'd be one thing, but there's 3 that I look at and I'm just like, man, and it's not even like me being a fan in the eye test saying, "Oh, we're better than them." It's not even that. Like there's 3 teams that I'm not quite sure how you argue for all 3 to be above us, and that's why I'm hopeful that we can squeeze into it. I'm hoping right now it's looking like Texas Tech's our best shot. We do have to win a couple games in the SEC tournament, I think. But I'm very hopeful that we get out of the 5 spot. Although, like you said, it would be great to be able to go watch a game. Also, quick complaint about teams like Bama, those live and die by the 3 teams, that are so modern and new now. I get that there's nothing you can do to keep them out of the seeds above us because it's fair. I mean, you look at their record, you look at their strength of schedule, all the stuff. You have no reason to not put them in those seeds. But what drives me crazy is I am not a believer that type of team can ever go all the way. Like I don't think it's not sustainable for that many games in a row until one proves me wrong. And so it drives me crazy seeing like a Bama or Illinois, these teams in those high seeds. And I know for a fact they will lose. They're going to have a game where they don't hit their threes and they're going to lose. It's going to happen every time. And again, it's fair. It's the numbers, but it drives Bama's the one. That's the one that's been that way for the last like 3 or ever since Nate Oates got there.
He's a very good coach, and,
Yes, he
and they've
is.
done it real well. But for some reason, he can't. He's got teams that can't play defense.
That style, you're either going to score 100 points and you're going to beat somebody. Because if they're making their threes, you're not going to beat them. You're not going to outshoot them. But when they miss them, any single team in that tournament can beat them. That's the thing about it. And so when you have the game, and it's going to happen, you play how many games? I'm being dumb right now. How many games would it take to win a championship?
8.
Yeah, you play 8 games in a row, you're not going to shoot. You're not going to hit all your threes for 8 games in a row. It's just not going to happen. And so it just annoys me a tad seeing those
6,
teams
I
be that
believe.
high.
Now 6.
Is it 6?
Sorry.
No, that's I didn't take time to figure it out. But yeah, it just drives me crazy watching them play. He is a good coach, and they've been really good. And I don't believe they can win a national championship. And I haven't believed it in a year that he's been there, that they've been good. And there's a couple other teams super similar this year, but yeah, that play style drives me nuts.
Just for breaking news for you guys, Duke just beat Florida State by 1, 80-79.
Oh boy.
Thank you for the update on the scoreboard. The Phee Smee's Sportsball with Sir Isaac the Guru and Mr. President's official scoreboard. Mr. President, all the way from the Northeast, with Duke, a 1-point victory today over the Seminoles of Florida State.
I have to tell you guys, Drew, you may have seen it with the amount that you're online because it was just floating a little bit around the internet the last couple of days. But I do have to tell you both about my favorite individual player stat that I've seen going into March Madness. But there's a player for High Point named Chase Johnston. And everyone's floating around saying, oh, High Point could be a Cinderella, whatever. So this guy's stats for the season. He has shot 132 3-point field goals, made 64. So really efficient 3-point shooter.
Yes.
Tell me how many 2-point field goals he has attempted on the season.
Mr. President, do you know anything about High Point, what state they're in, or who their high score is, or how many 2s he shot this year?
I know nothing about this. I have not seen this stat, which I'm shocked about. But let me take a guess. How many 2-pointers he attempts this whole year?
Yep.
It's got to be lower. He wouldn't have brought it up.
It's got to be low, but I mean, I'm going to say 30.
I'll say 20.
So I'll say his 3-point stats again: 64 for 132. He is 0 for 4 from inside the arc on the season.
No way.
I'm so serious.
So hold on, let me get this straight for Sir Isaac the Guru. We call him the Guru for a specific reason, but you're telling me the boy shot 140 times all year and 136 of them were from threes.
Yep.
And that's excluding free throws,
And he
ladies and
didn't
gentlemen.
make. He's 0 for 4 from
He's
inside.
0 for 4. Well, he can't make a layup, but he shoots 50%
And
from
I
three.
think he's 4 for 4 from the free throw line for the season.
Well,
So yeah, they bring him in. I think he comes off the bench. They literally bring him in. If you look up his highlights, I mean, he's got some.
he's a skinny white boy.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's got some crazy highlights, but his entire purpose is he comes in and he just shoots threes from like the logo, and he's very good at it. But people are floating his name around right now because there's always the guy in March Madness. Like a couple years ago, it was the famous Calipari losing to 28-year-olds or whatever his rant was. He still brings it up in like every interview, by the way. But when he lost to Jack Golke for Oakland, same type thing. It's like this guy is the token. All I do is shoot threes, and he's gonna be the one that's floating around all the highlights because he hits 8 threes in the March Madness game.
You sure it wasn't 0 for 40 from 2 points?
Oh, I'm
0
so
for
sure.
4?
4 attempts.
He shot the ball 4 times inside the arc and 136 outside.
Yes.
Okay, that's a new one, and I've been around a long time, ladies and gentlemen. And I do believe High Point, Mr. President, is in the state of New York.
Okay, good to know.
But yeah, that's a crazy stat.
That's as crazy a stat as you'll want to bring up. What else you got, Mr. Guru?
Oh gosh.
I know you're not high on UConn this year. I know you're not high on Nebraska.
Let's go. Let's start with a couple Cinderellas. I'm gonna not include a couple of these because they're bigger teams. So High Point's a popular one right now, but just one of those first round upset teams. St. Louis they're normally a really good
I
basketball
like the
program.
Billikens. I always liked them playing when I was playing gambling.
They are really good again this year, and on the metrics on KenPom, they're second in 3-point percentage and 8th in 3-point percentage defended. Just really like efficient offensive team, defend the three well. Which anytime I look for Cinderellas or like a team like that, it's got to be someone who hits threes. And it's in the worst case scenario is not to just hate on Gonzaga. I know they catch a bunch of flack, but if you play against a Gonzaga who thrives inside the 3-point line and they don't shoot threes, that's like the worst. That's the dangerous matchup. You play against a team that all they do is want to shoot, and then you're a team that can't. If that team happens to hit them, you can't keep up. So St. Louis is really good. Santa Clara has produced a couple random like really good NBA players the last few years.
And they always do well when they get in the tournament.
Yeah, they're kind of scary to play against. VCU is that's an all-time,
Absolutely.
always
There's
up
another
their
one.
name.
Well, you're pulling out some good ones for someone who hadn't watched a lot of basketball this year, but used to watch it every day of it for 50 years. So
People say UCA, Central Arkansas, if they sneak in, which I don't think they're projected to make it at the moment, but they're like right on the bubble. People say that UCA would be a scary team because I think for some reason they're like ranked super high in offensive and defensive efficiency, which I did not know until I read about that today. Drew, have you heard of any specific like smaller team that you think has a chance to upset somebody?
Well, I had heard about the Santa Clara Broncos because I saw that they had played against Gonzaga in their conference championship, and they only lost by either 9 or 11 points, but they played pretty tough. They have pretty good, senior players, and that's usually, for a team with maybe lower chances, having a player who has experience and will be able to show up in the big moments. Maybe a little bit more physicality, being a little older too helps. But Santa Clara lost to St. Louis this year. And, I'm not living in St. Louis anymore, so I don't think I could say I'm a homer, but I have been to a couple of St. Louis Billikens basketball games. And just my heart wants SLU, St. Louis University, to win a game. So that's who I'm going to pick as my Cinderella.
I like it.
All that being said, I think that it's not Cinderellas are not predicted. They are fated, and it's something that you can't deem a team. It just happens in the magic of March Madness where they come out of the ether and something happens and they become the Cinderella. Not even all the big teams with upsets will become Cinderellas.
Yeah.
There has to be some type of magic, a Sister Jean-esque formula has to come to fruition for a team to be a true Cinderella. And I hope we see one this year.
That's true because there's always like a random. There'll always be a matchup or a couple matchups that even like the internet is all behind. It'll be like a 12 versus a 5 or something like that where people are like very aware that the 12 is like a very very solid team and the matchup is favorable to them. And you're right, those aren't Cinderellas. They're just upsets. But yeah, I'll be rooting for SLU. I think it's fun, and you're the only reason I even pay much attention to them when you were living there. But they've been solid.
Absolutely. And I do believe that Wash University is the best law school in the country.
True. They are a great law school.
Thank you, Eddie.
And I do think St. Louis, the Billikens are a great sleeper pick and Cinderella pick for you guys. Would you say that Virginia and Ohio State are two teams that people are scared of if they're the number one seeds?
I am high on Virginia myself.
They play good defense.
They have the reputation for why am I blanking on his name? Who was their coach forever? That they couldn't score, but they played good defense all the time. They won the national championship. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna continue. Anyways, the Virginia stereotype is the great defense, low scoring, and so people love to bash on it when it comes to tournament time. But Virginia does not play like that anymore. They will still have that reputation just because it's hard to shake that after a long time of it.
Kind of like that Pittsburgh Steelers defense.
Yeah, yes. But Virginia is actually in the top 15 teams in 3-point shooting this year. They shoot a lot of threes, and they're very good at it. They also play good defense, and I've watched them play a few times. I'm telling you, it's not the same Virginia that we've all seen for years. And I don't think they can win a national championship, but I'm telling you right now, there's a couple teams, and they're one of them, that are just random middle-seeded teams that I do not want to play against. Ohio State's a weird one, too, because their record isn't crazy. Conference record isn't crazy, but they have looked really good in a few big games this year. They're very scrappy.
They passed the eye test for Phee.
Yeah, they're just someone that looks good enough that I don't trust it if I'm playing them too. So they're another one that's up there. Kansas is my number one. I'm terrified of Kansas because, and I hate the reason, and I don't want to talk bad about him because I think he's I think he's an incredible NBA talent. But Darren Peterson, Kansas is the ultimate unknown in this tournament. They're solid without him. I mean, they're Kansas. They're always going to have talent. They're always going to have good players. But Darren Peterson, when he decides to play, is a game changer. People are all mad at him because he sits, and I think that's very frustrating too. I don't know why it is. There's a lot of debate over whether it's injury or whether he doesn't want to play games in college and is just trying to get to the league. Whatever it is, if you get the Kansas that they've had most of the year, I don't think they're going to make it that far. But if Darren Peterson, he's the only one who knows his own brain, and if he decides, hey, I'm going to give it 1,000% for March Madness,
Let's show out.
Kansas is a whole different team because he is a legitimate problem. As much as a homer as I am, I'm telling you right now, if I was in the NBA, I would draft him over Darius Acuff. It pains me to say it because Darius Acuff has been the polar opposite. He's played through injury. He's played through everything. He wants to be on the court. He wants to win, and I love that. He's going to go down as one of my favorite Razorbacks I've ever watched. But Darren Peterson, when I watch him play basketball, is he's special. It's just really weird that it's almost like he doesn't want to be there. So Kansas is scary to me too. And then the last one is BYU. Again, individual talent wise, AJ DeBansta, their second best player is out for the year. He has been for the last few weeks, but he's just one of those guys that has a potential of wrecking a game. And they could probably go off and beat just about anybody if he decides to go off. So,
Do you think he's the overall pick, Mr. President, in the NBA draft this year?
I haven't seen the latest projections, but that wouldn't surprise me at all.
I have not either. I would have thought Boozer or the Michigan guard would have been 1-2. But Sir William tells me that the BYU boy, that he can pronounce his last name, and I can't. I'll just say that if Bam Adebayo can score 82, then or 83, then I ought to be able to pronounce the BYU player's last name. But Sir William can definitely do it.
I'm sure he can.
it's either I think it's either Cam Boozer or him. I think they're the 1A, 1B. It's probably going to come down to who drafts or who's picking. But
That makes a lot of sense. Any last words, Guru, on the basketball or football?
I think Florida is the biggest bust, number 1 seed in the tournament.
Wow. There you go. Florida is the biggest bust in basketball. Mr. President, do you have any last words for basketball today?
I don't have any last words for basketball. I'm going to need to go soon, but if we're covering another topic, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll give my final thoughts of the show this evening.
Yeah, I want to, real quick, I want to ask you who you think the overall pick will be in the NFL football draft, and then you can have your final thoughts, and we'll let you go.
I think Fernando Mendoza, the great ABBA song, will be picked first overall. I think that the Raiders will be loading up on quarterback, receiver, in the first round of the draft, and then be loading up on defense throughout the rest of the draft. And, with Brock Bowers and Genty and Mendoza and potentially a new receiver, there could be a lot of young talent on this Raiders offense. They spent a lot of money in free agency and offensive linemen. Max Crosby's coming back, so I don't think they'll be bottom of the barrel anymore, and I think those will be the
Raiders of old.
Winners of the NFL draft.
Wow, the Raiders. All right. What about you? You think the Raiders are coming back strong? Yo, Raiders.
I don't know how long it'll take, but I do 100% agree with Drew in the fact that they're about to at least have multiple very good pieces. Now, if it's the Raiders that I know, they'll end up losing those pieces, whether they trade them away or wait till their contract is up. But they're fun. Them and the Giants both are the two big rebuild teams that are fun. Yeah. And I saw they signed a good offensive lineman. They should be loading up around them because they've got a lot of areas that they need to improve in. It ain't just a couple pieces. It's a whole lot. But it is fun, and they do have a couple massive names that are going to be at different positions on offense. That will be fun. Also, Drew, did you happen to see that? Did you see where Kyler went earlier?
Minnesota.
Yep. Did you see that, Drew?
I did. I saw that Kyler Murray signed with the Minnesota Vikings. I think that Kevin O'Connell is a great coach, and I think that he will be able to get production out of Kyler. I mean, he got production out of Sam Darnold. He got production out of what's his number, Isaac?
Do what?
He got production out of 9 as the
quarterback. Oh my goodness! I was sorry. That's my fault.
He did the best he could, set you up. He put it on the tee for Sir Isaac the Guru, and Sir Isaac missed it.
But I think that if Kyler gets the chance to play, he will do well enough to make the team competitive. I think that I'm out on smaller quarterbacks. I think that except for Drew Brees and, as my dad reminded me last night, Doug Flutie, there have not been very many short teams successful in the NFL, at least long term. And I think that Kyler was a great college quarterback and has had some great moments and times in the NFL, but I'm not sure that his physical limitations will allow him to reach the next level.
Well, you can go all the way back to the 70s, and Fran Tarkenton from the Minnesota Vikings was about 5'9", played at the University of Georgia, a Bulldog, and he was a scrambling freak. Mr. President, it's always an honor to have you. Next week, we'll be talking about March Madness. We'll have the seedings. It will be Thursday, and we will be kicking off the March Madness basketball tournament next Thursday. Thank you for showing up and showing out tonight on Phee Sportsball with Sir Isaac the Guru and Mr. President.
Thank you, Daddy. Can I give you my final thoughts here?
Absolutely.
The Oscars are this Sunday. They're going to be hosted by Conan O'Brien, who did a great job last year. Every year I try to watch all of the Oscar Best Picture nominees. I wasn't able to watch them all this year. I missed a couple, but I still want to quickly provide who I think is going to win in the major categories and who my favorite performance or picture was this year, if that's okay.
It's okay as long as it wasn't last weekend like the dog show.
It wasn't last weekend like the dog show. No, this is unlike my previous prognostication with the dog show. I do not have the results in hand, and I actually know more of what I'm talking about with movies than I do with dogs.
Absolutely. Go right ahead and let me hear it.
Let's start with the Best Actor category. It's a really tight race between Timothy Chalamet and Marty Supreme versus Michael B. Jordan in Sinners. Timothy Chalamet plays a ping pong fanatic who is such a terrible person that you laugh at all the absolutely horrid decisions that he makes in pursuit of his passion. It's a very dark comedy. Michael B. Jordan plays twins, Smoke and Stack, who robbed money from the mob in Chicago and are using it to open up a blues joint in the Deep South. Things go well until the KKK and, of course, vampires show up in Sinners. They were both good performances. I think that Timothy Chalamet is going to win. My favorite performance, though, was Leonardo DiCaprio in One Battle After Another as a former revolutionary / domestic terrorist, depending on how you view it, who spent the last 16 years drinking and smoking and getting high and is now all of a sudden being chased by the military. That may not sound funny, but it's a very funny and ultimately heartwarming movie, and Leo's performance was my favorite.
Fantastic.
In the Best Actress category, Jessie Buckley is going to win for Hamnet, playing Shakespeare's wife, Agnes. I haven't seen Hamnet yet, but I'm watching it on Saturday. Until then, my favorite performance has been Renee Ringsev from Sentimental Value, who plays a actress daughter reconnecting with her famous director father, who's played by Stellan Skarsgård in the Dutch film Sentimental Value, which is in mostly Norwegian, but that may sound pretty what's the right word to say, pretentious, and it is. It's also a good movie.
Hey, trust me, when I have to read the subtitles, son, it's too much work for your daddy.
That is a lot of work, and I completely understand that. In the Best Supporting Actress category, Amy Madigan is going to win for playing Aunt Gladys, a horror villain in the movie Weapons. I don't watch very many horror movies, so I missed that one. But I like Elle Fanning in Sentimental Value. For Best Supporting Actor, it's a tight race between Sean Penn as Colonel Stephen J. Lockjaw in One Battle After Another. He is the villain, the antagonist of that movie, and is very good. And Stellan Skarsgård in Sentimental Value, who is a great artist, father trying to reconnect with his kids the best way he knows how. I think my favorite performance was Sean Penn's because it was so funny. And if you watch the movie, you'll be very confused, and you'll be also very you'll be laughing a lot at watching this very gruff military man try to join the Christmas club and you'll have to watch to know what the Christmas Club is. For best director, Paul Thomas Anderson is going to win for One Battle After Another, and I think he should win. And for best picture, it's a close race between One Battle After Another and Sinners. I personally like One Battle After Another best. I think that's my favorite movie of the year. If you can get past some off-putting stuff in the first 5 minutes of the movie, which is purposely off-putting, you'll learn why later. And if you can get past not knowing exactly what emotion you're supposed to be feeling in the first 30 minutes of the movie, when a lot of crazy stuff and action is happening and you're not sure whose side you should really be on, if you can get past those first 30 minutes, the remainder of the movie is absolutely incredible. You won't stop laughing or being on the edge of your seat at what will happen next. And I love a movie where the heroes defeat the villain in a creative, smart way that I didn't see coming. And the ending of the movie is really, really impressive. And you figure out what the good guy is going to do maybe the split second before it actually happens or right after. And it's just a amazing movie moment that I would recommend everybody have. So One Battle After Another is my favorite movie. It's possible Sinners wins, but I think One Battle After Another takes it. My other favorite movie is Marty Supreme, Sentimental Value, and F1, the Formula One movie. Those are my Oscar picks. I hope that I'm right, and I hope that my favorites win some trophies this Sunday.
I'm so happy that you just said so many things about that One Battle After Another movie, because when it was in theaters, I was realizing I hadn't seen a movie in forever, and I was looking up movies in theaters and looking at reviews, and that movie had incredible reviews by both like audience score and critics. And I didn't end up going and seeing it, but you just convinced me to watch it, and so I'm very happy that you spoke so highly of it.
Great. I mean, if I get one person to watch it, then it's a win. So, don't be put off by the first 30 minutes, and then enjoy the great ride after that. And you'll be laughing a lot, or you'll be at the edge of your seat. So I'm hoping that you enjoy it. Let me know your thoughts after you see it. I think it's on HBO Max right now.
All right. Yeah, no, I'll definitely let you know.
I can tell you, folks, right from the Northeast, there is a movie critic, an Oscar review that you haven't heard anywhere else in this country except right here on the Phee Smee Network, with Mr. President giving his Oscar picks on Fee's Sportsball with Sir Isaac the Guru. Mr. President, thank you again. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you next week or talk to you next week, same time, same bat channel.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Love you guys.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Sir Isaac, do you have any last thoughts on any football or basketball, stud puppy?
I have too many, but I know we can't go forever. But it's my favorite. I could talk about this stuff for literally ever.
Well, you've got, let's just say you've got 9 minutes.
Okay, you want a speed run?
You do whatever you need to do. The camera's rolling.
I'll start in football quickly because there's just a couple things, free agency things that were fun that we didn't get to. But Malik Willis, everyone's basically trying to find the next Sam Darnold. That's the name of the game in the NFL right now.
Yes, it is.
With him obviously having the great story, winning a Super Bowl, all the talk has been, who can we find that can have a resurgence to be the next Sam Darnold? So Malik Willis is like the leading candidate for that. He's going to the Dolphins, which is fun. The Falcons have put together a couple of the most comical years of decisions that I've seen in a long time.
Man, what's going on down there?
It's honestly hilarious. So they signed Kirk Cousins. They basically took on Kirk Cousins' contract, which was massive, and then drafted a quarterback who doesn't have knees. I like him, but he doesn't have knees. And then they let the guy who's making the most money sit and watch the guy with no knees, who is a lefty, which is always, fun and interesting in the NFL.
Abnormal.
And then they sign, by the way, guy with no knees gets hurt. I know, it's crazy. It's mind-blowing. Then they pick up, they still have Kirk Cousins, by the way. They pick up Tua. another lefty, two lefties in the same quarterback room, which is always don't know how many
Ball's
times that's
sitting
ever
the right
happened.
way, baby.
But quite sure what they're doing over there, and they still have Kirk Cousins' contract. I'm assuming the plan is for him to move. I have no idea, but it's just very funny to keep up with. So that's been fun. Trey Hendrickson going to the Ravens was fun, especially after the Max Crosby thing went down. Very weird.
Yeah, what happened to that? I thought he was gone from the Raiders, and now he's back. Talk to me about
There's
that.
conspiracies, but basically he didn't pass his physical. He didn't pass the Ravens physical.
Okay.
So there's kind of two things. Or three actually. Some people, so he had a knee surgery. Some people think that either the Ravens weren't aware of the timeline of him recovering and were kind of thought that they were being someone in the Raiders was being dishonest. When they saw the status of his knee, they were put off. Some people think that it was naive by them to like maybe not realize that was the case. I have a hard time thinking that's it. Other people think that there's a conspiracy that they took him. They're in the no tampering period, so they're not supposed to be talking to free agents. Some people think they made the trade. In the process of that going through, they talked or they figured out that they could sign Trey Hendrickson in free agency.
He's a quality player.
Yes, way more one-sided than Max Crosby.
Oh, yeah.
But
He's not Max Crosby.
no. But so a lot of people think that they figured out they could sign him. Then they all of a sudden had their doctor find a reason to deny Max Crosby, sign Trey
happens some.
Hendrickson, send him back. That's kind of that's what seems the most logical to me. Then of course, just coincidentally, the Ravens come out with a report the next day saying, "Oh, we were planning on having both of them." I don't know about that, but very weird deal. I feel bad. I feel bad for Max Crosby. He's done nothing but play hard for a horrible organization. Could have thrown in the towel so many times. So many players do. He hasn't. Respect him, and I hope that he finds a way to go to a good team. But Kenneth
The
Walker,
way you guys are talking, he might be on a good team.
man, not by the time he's too old. Probably is
He's
the
probably
sad
28,
thing.
29, isn't he?
Yeah, but if you're in a rebuild, you talk about 2-3 years, then
Then he's 32, 33.
Yeah.
That's too old.
And so
Especially with the wear and tear. He just doesn't miss games.
no,
does
and
he?
he doesn't miss plays. I mean,
Yeah,
the man is brutal on his body, which is respectable, but probably not one of those guys that plays till he's 38.
Right.
Kenneth Walker to the Chiefs. We brought up ETN to the Saints. Mike Evans to the 49ers is cool.
I think Mike Evans to the 49ers is the best move I've seen this year.
It's cool that as long as I'm assuming the 49ers know that obviously he's also running out of years, but he's still he'd be a great end zone threat, great in situational stuff. I don't know that he's a every play wide receiver anymore, but he is insanely talented. One of the most talented receivers the NFL's ever had.
He just catches touchdowns.
Yeah.
He's kind of like Chris Carter used to be.
But yeah, that's it on NFL. And then in basketball, let's see. I was gonna bring up my overrated teams in the tournament that I think are gonna lose. Florida's number one. Florida has really great big men, and last year they won a national championship because of that. But the difference is last year they had two NBA quality guards that they could fall back on. This year they have the great big men. They do not have the guard play that they had last year, and I think that's going to creep up and bite them. I don't see them being a first round upset, but I think they're going to run into someone who scores a ton, and they won't be able to match it. At the end of the day, Boogie Fland is Arkansas sloppy seconds, and we got a much better player in Darius Acuff this year. And Boogie Fland is not Walter Clayton Jr. that was there last year, who was an NBA draft pick. They're not going to be able to keep up. They're 314th in the country on Ken Palm for 3-point percentage. They can't hang when it comes to threes. UConn, I don't think UConn can get there either. They've had 3 losses since February 6th. They still have a really good record. They almost had 5 losses. They barely beat Georgetown, barely beat Seton Hall. They're always going to be solid. They've got a good defense, but again, kind of like Florida, I don't think it's the same UConn. Illinois and Bama are going to lose. That's just how it works when you shoot that many threes. They're fun to watch, and there's not a more fun game when they make them, but they will lose at some point.
Just saying they're not going to be on fire for 6 straight games.
No, it's not going to happen. And again, I promise I will take all of it back if it happens. I will, but it just won't happen.
You are 99% true.
Yes. Purdue is not the same either. They're going to go out early, and Gonzaga is going to go out early too. Those are teams that are going to be high seeded that I don't think have what it takes this year. We talked about Virginia, Ohio State, Kansas. I would say last thing I got, and then we'll finish up, is some of the best players in the tournament. That'll be electric to watch. We talked about AJ DeBansta. I think he's leading the nation. I printed this off earlier. I think he's leading the nation in scoring still. Yeah, he's scoring 25 a game. He's very competent from the 3-point line, decent free throw shooter, good defender. I mean, he's just a monster. Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas as a duo, I think are terrifying if you're
Go
another
Hogs.
team. Absolutely. Darius Acuff is the best point guard, if we're not counting Darren Peterson, in the country. He is leading, or he's top 5 in assist to turnover ratio, top 15 in assists average, one of the best scorers. I mean, he's just an amazing point guard. Malik Thomas has been behind him. We already had this conversation, but after the last game where he got to kind of have his own, I think that's got to be. I can't imagine that being bad for someone's confidence going into a tournament.
Absolutely not.
Bama's point guard LeBaron Philon is
Always
really
good.
good. He was the one that the game you watched. Him and Acuff going back and forth was. I agree with Phil. I think that was probably, if it wasn't the best college basketball game of the year, it was tied for it, because that was an incredible
It was
game.
magic.
It really
It
was.
was magic.
Cam Boozer, we all know. Here's a couple smaller guys, or smaller school guys. There's a guy named Nasir Whitlock for Lehigh. They're going to be one of those teams that squeezes in as a low seed.
Ivy League school, Lehigh.
But he's a 21 point a game scorer, and is a 40% shooter, or 44% shooter from three on 173 attempts. That's insanely efficient.
Yeah.
Type of guy who, again, we talk about the magic. That's the type of guy that has the potential to go score 32 and knock someone off. And then we tried to get him in the transfer portal, and we failed. But Indiana has been losing some games recently. Is starting to slide down the seeding. But they have a guy named Lamar Wilkerson who will shoot 12 threes a game. He's going to get them up, and most of the time he makes half of them. So Indiana's another team that, if that guy gets hot, good luck, strap in for the ride, and hope you can make it out, because when those guys go crazy, it's really hard to keep up with. You start trying to double team them, other people are open, it's a problem. But those are just some players that'll be fun. But at the end of the day, my favorite time of the year for sports. Can't wait for March Madness. I'll be at a big crawfish boil for the first weekend. We'll have 4 TVs going and playing games and watching games, and it's going to be. I've been looking forward to it for a year.
Since last year.
Exactly. So I'm pumped. Go Hogs, and we'll obviously be back talking about the games and stuff as we go. So
Next
really looking
Thursday.
forward to it.
Absolutely. We'll be here next Thursday, opening round of the tournament. I saw Keith Smart hit a jumper on the baseline to win the national championship. I believe it was 1987. And there was Billy Donovan was there for Providence. UNLV was loaded and expected to win. Then Indiana ended up winning the national championship. And that's the only Final Four that I've been to in my life.
That would be. I've never got to go to a March Madness game, and that would be a blast. That just reminded me 2 super quick things. First of all, I started playing in the men's league in Fayetteville with my friend Seth Hawley, really good basketball player, not as good as me. Anyway, the ref of the men's league is Ron Brewer, which is super cool.
Senior?
Arkansas, yes, Arkansas legend.
Called him Boothead.
Apparently, just loves Fayetteville. He refs every single game. He's in better shape than any of the people playing, and he's a blast. Great dude. He'll talk to you as the game's going on. Has fun doing it. That's been super cool. And I nerded out a little bit because obviously huge Arkansas fan. He's a legend. So super cool. And then, oh no, what was the last thing? We might have to move on. Don't give me a chance to try to remember it, but something we just talked about. But
NCAA tournament basketball, Boothead from Ron Brewer. which his son also played at Fayetteville and the University of Arkansas, Ryan Brewer Jr., and I played in the NBA.
One of the funkiest jump shots on the planet.
Well, he broke an elbow on a slide when he was a young boy and
Yep.
he kept shooting like that, and it worked for him, so I get it. Sir, I certainly appreciate you coming down, spending this hour and a half with me tonight. We'll do it next weekend. Any final thoughts?
No, I think that's all we got. Look forward to updating everyone on the tournament as we go.
Well, God bless you guys. You can tune in to the Phee Smee Network's Night with Phee coming up in about 10 minutes at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time. Until next Thursday, remember, no matter what you're doing, you're missing something. So let's make what we're doing worth what we're missing. God bless you guys and have a great weekend.